There were a lot of controversies with Pokemon Sword and Shield, so I'm just gonna assume you mean the lack of the national dex here. And my take on it is that it was a little overblown. First of all, it's not a matter of hardware limitations. Nintendo and Game Freak could have fit thousands of more Pokemon on a cart. What it is a matter of is time and budget. Does Nintendo and Game Freak have the budget? Yes. They're full of money. They could have put as much money as they wanted to the project. But every dime they put toward the project will have to be made up in sales. So the question is, how many sales would they lose compared to how much money they would devote toward putting in more Pokemon? This is compounded by the next limiting factor, time. No matter how much money you put toward a project, people can only work so fast. And I would wager putting every single Pokemon in Sword and Shield would probably end up delaying them another year or two. Basically, however long it took for the DLC to come out and then some. Then, of course, the question again is how many more sales would Sword and Shield have gotten with the National Dex in, as opposed to how many they would have lost by delaying the game a year or two. Truth be told, I think Game Freak is in a pretty bad position right now, because the entire concept of their game is catching them all. And the entire concept behind sequels to their game is adding new Pokemon to catch. They basically advertise their game series as one that would have infinite growth, one that would constantly add new content, and that all that new content would always be available in each subsequent sequel. But no game can have infinite growth. At some point, you do end up hitting a growth barrier. Whether that's budget, whether that's time, whether that's just feasible effort you could put in, eventually they're going to hit a barrier. And I'm not 100% sure that they did hit that barrier, but I do think that Game Freak took the position of, if not now, when. Moving the games from traditionally handheld consoles to the Switch, which is a handheld home console hybrid, was a good time to get people used to big changes. And since eventually they were going to hit that barrier anyway, this was a good time to say, okay, now let's introduce the concept of not being able to port over all the Pokemon in every Pokemon release. Yes, they probably could have done it. They probably could have, with more time and money, put in the entire National Dex and make every Pokemon available. But since eventually they were going to hit that production barrier, since eventually it was just going to be a matter of time before they couldn't include every Pokemon in every Pokemon game, now was a good time to rip off that Band-Aid. Is it something worth being angry over? I don't think so. Though I do actually think that if services like Pokemon Home were a bit better and a bit cheaper, it probably would have gone over a little bit better.